Now
it
becomes tangible.
And then it's like, well, can I really do this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
when it gets the hardest.
That's right. Well, the
closer you get, I feel like the harder it gets.
This is the Said No One Ever podcast, a podcast about things you never knew you wanted to hear about. I'm your host, Martin Moore. Let's get into it.
Oh, man, I'm so excited to do this. Welcome to another episode of the Said No One Ever podcast. I am Martin Moore. I am super excited for this episode. This is a conversation that we're going to have today that I can have with very, very few people. And me and this guy that's on this episode today, we've been going back and forth for a little while about visiting all 50 states. He did it before me. Jen and I just completed all 50 states this February, and I'm super excited to have him on. He's a radio host and sports director at The Game, a sports fan, a friend, and a fellow alumni of the All 50 States Club. Doug Russell.
Hey, Martin.
Welcome. How are you?
It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about doing this for a long time, and we finally, it's been my schedule. It hasn't been your schedule. It's been my schedule that's been at fault, so I apologize.
We're very busy people. You know what I really like about this episode is that you're on the radio, and I've been on the radio, so like we have very good radio voices.
That was never the intention. I remember when I was a kid, and my dad's name is Walt, and I would pick up the phone, and I was like 13 years old, and hello? Hey, Walt, it's blah, 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 blah. No, hang on, I'll go get him. I don't know why. I have always
had a deep voice.
You have
a great radio voice. And just like your candor on the mic, and like, I don't know, you have a very dynamic voice too, which I really appreciate. That was one thing that like I really wanted to do when I was on 620 was just have some character to my voice. A lot of people, it's just kind of this monotone, this very static. Like, I don't know. I'll talk really quiet and I'll talk really loud. I'll pull away from the mic and I don't know.
You don't want to do like an NPR microphone?
Oh yeah, right.
Or something with a podcast.
Oh, I can't stand those. It's great for sleeping. It's almost like, you know what ASMR is?
Yeah,
that's when I listen to NPR. I feel like I'm listening to like a.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do. And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes.
All right, I think you covered a lot of it. I grew up in Waukesha, but I wasn't born in Waukesha, which is part of the story of what we're going to be talking about today because it's germane to how I got to 50.
Sure.
But I've always been interested in, I guess, radio broadcasting because I was never great at science. I was never great at math or anything like that. And
welcome to the club.
Right. So what else can I do? Well, I mean, I kind of had a gift for gab. I always kind of was able to talk my way into and out of things when necessary. And when it was time for me to go to college, UW-Oshkosh was one of those places that allowed you to get involved right away. And once I set foot in the radio studio at WRST when I was 17 years old, they just had trouble getting rid of me.
Yeah.
So I've been in radio studios most of my life. I've also done some writing, love photography.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no. One of these days.
Boy, are we long lost brothers?
I think we might be. I think we might be. And that kind of plays into it a little bit as well because I wanted to get a halfway decent camera. Now I don't have the professional equipment that some of us have.
Sure.
But I do have an okay camera. It's all right. It gets the job done. But I wanted to get it for our trip to Alaska, which also plays into why we're here today because that's part of how I got to 50. But I wanted a decent camera to take some pictures of some of the glaciers in Alaska. But that's always been a passion of mine. I would like to upgrade. So at some point, I'll have you on the Doug Russell podcast.
Yeah, hey, I know a guy that knows a little bit about cameras.
Right, exactly. So I will need to pick your brain on that. But so that's a passion of mine.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah.
Very, very similar passions. You didn't used to be a magician ever, did you?
I was never a magician.
I was.
Okay, really?
Yep. From when I was 7 till I was 17.
Okay, well, a good magician never tells his secrets, right? That's the rule.
Well, this episode is called the All 50 States Club, and I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
When did you complete all 50 states?
Last spring. Okay. So not quite a year ago, but almost a year ago. It's Memorial Day weekend of last year.
And Jen and I finished in this last February. And so what was your last state?
Oregon.
What was your first state?
Well, I was born in Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
So does that count as my first state or is my first state visited was probably Alabama, as that we, and I was a month old going
That's
down
a good
to see
question.
Nana.
What do you what would someone consider their first state? Because if you're born in a state, like,
Sure.
is that someone's first state?
I guess.
I suppose. Okay, so Mississippi.
Yeah.
Mine was Wisconsin.
Okay, so there you go. So I was born in Mississippi. Now I remember as a child, because we didn't get to Wisconsin until I was in kindergarten.
Okay.
So, but I learned how to speak. By the here's a fun fact. I learned how to speak. You were talking about my voice earlier.
Yeah.
With a Southern accent. So
So did you have a Southern accent
yes,
growing up?
deep Southern accent.
Really?
Yes.
And you were able to like purge it from your.
No, not entirely.
Really?
I still drop a y'all.
Really?
Yeah.
If you ever go back, like, do you have family still in Mississippi?
No.
Okay.
No. I like to say I come from a family of gypsies. My father was born. That's a pejorative word now, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, I don't think so. I don't care.
But nevertheless, my mom. Here's the story of my family. My mom was born in New York City. My dad was born in rural Nebraska.
Okay.
They met and got married in Florida. Had my brother in Texas, me in Mississippi. Then they moved to Wisconsin, and they also lived in Maryland. So they've been all over the place,
Wow.
which also plays into how I've nailed all 50
Sure,
states.
sure.
Because some of them when I was a child. But the first time that I ever traveled out of Mississippi was to go see Nana and Gramps in Florida, and you had to go through Alabama for that. So I guess technically the first state that I wasn't born in, that I was in, was Alabama, but I do remember going to Alabama. But anytime I go down south, and I did live in Texas for a year in 2012,
Okay.
so it came back like that.
I was
And
going to ask, does the accent come back?
Yes, and I didn't even realize it.
Did you get any video?
No, but my wife was still up here, and I picked her up at the airport, and we were just having a regular conversation. So, why are you speaking like that?
She's like, who are you?
Who are you? Why are you talking like that? I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? But yeah, so it does come back.
That's funny. Well, let me start off with the first question because I have met a few. How many people have you met that have been in all 50 states?
A few.
I know an acquaintance of ours, Steve Scafidi. He's at 49.
Yes.
And he just cannot break that last 50.
What is it? Is it Hawaii?
I think Hawaii is his last one.
Okay.
So what's your criteria for checking off a state?
So
'Cause
here's
it's different for everybody.
It is. You have to be standing on the ground within the state, breathing that state's air.
So not an airport.
That is correct. Airports do not count.
No.
Airports, I don't think airports count for most people.
No.
And they shouldn't.
No.
So you have to be standing on the ground outside within the state lines, breathing its air.
Gotcha.
And also for the All 50 Club, that's their criteria.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, see, I never actually read what their criteria was.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
their criteria.
Okay.
So I guess that's my criteria.
Sure.
So I'll share that.
For me, it's mine was always like I have to be able to explain what the landscape looked like that was in front of me, be able to like recommend something to somebody
Okay.
or have some kind of experience in it or something. Or I've come to the conclusion that even driving through a state, I think counts because like you see the landscape
Sure.
change.
You can get out.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get out. Now, you're talking about how many people have I met in the 50 States Club. One of them is Kevin Holden. He's the sports director at CBS 58 here
Sure.
in Milwaukee. And his wife, Christy Blazer, dear friends of Erica's and mine. And we were talking about the 50 States Club. And I was explaining some states I've been to more than others.
Yeah.
And
Florida?
I've been to Florida a lot.
Me too.
I've been to Florida a lot as a child, as an adult. It's probably, of all the states that I haven't lived in, probably the state that I've spent the most time in.
Yeah.
But she and Kevin, they've seen a baseball game in all 50 states, and they just completed that within the last 2 weeks.
That's insane. Together?
Yes,
That's awesome.
it is. And so their criteria, or at least her criteria, Christy's criteria, is you have to, have spent so much time in a state to be able to see a baseball game. And I'm like, well, okay, does breakfast count? No, breakfast doesn't count. How about lunch? No. All right.
Really?
So you're crossing off. So Delaware, I went to in 2008 because the Brewers were in the playoffs in 2008.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, I was doing a morning show at the time. I'm like, well, I'm kind of hungry, and Delaware's right there, and I haven't been to Delaware before.
That's
so
that's a tricky one to get to.
It is it's more tricky than people realize. But the Brewers were playing the Phillies in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So
Delaware's not that close to Philadelphia, though.
yes, it is. It's right. Yeah, it's right across. It's just over the river. It's a very short drive from Philadelphia.
Oh, that's right. The bridge. You can take the bridge.
Yeah. So I went over there and found a breakfast place and had breakfast. Now, to some, that doesn't count. There's another friend of mine who is not in the 50 States Club, but she's getting closer and closer and closer.
Uh-huh.
And her family's criteria, because this is a quest for them as well,
Sure.
is you have to have spent the night
Oof.
in a state. And I'm like,
That's
what?
a tough one.
That crosses off a lot of states for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So mine is you have to be on the
Some
ground.
states aren't even worth spending the night.
There are, some are better than others, Martin.
Yeah.
So I don't use that criteria. Mine
Sure.
is feet on the ground. Are you breathing that air?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you can say that you were in that state. Sometimes I use the Wikipedia definition because if you go to any Wikipedia page of somebody who's died, they'll tell you where they died.
Uh-huh.
And if you're struck down dead, like say at the state line of, I don't know, I'll just pull out a state, Idaho.
Yeah.
Well, you died in Idaho. You might as well. You certainly were in Idaho.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So that's the definition.
I've always said, if you have two people, if Doug's on the left and Martin's on the right, and Doug stood in Idaho, and Martin's never been to Idaho, Doug's been to Idaho.
Yeah.
Which one of us has been to Idaho?
Well, I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting here, just chatting with people who've done it, who like the different criteria.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
So we got to your first state. What was your last state?
Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah. Oregon was my last state. That was last year. And that was part of the quest because I had a goal to get to all 50 states by the time I turned 50.
Oh.
So
That was my next question is what was your goal? How long did it take you to do it?
50 years.
50 years.
Almost 50 years. I got it before my 50th birthday.
That is awesome.
By a few months.
Well done.
So, and God bless my wife. She is the most patient person in the world because there were 3 states that were left, and it was the Pacific Northwest. It was Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. Beautiful. And I'd never been to Washington, so I'd never been to Seattle before. So when we're looking at flights, she's like, well, we could fly into Seattle, this, that, or the other thing. I'm like, or we could fly into Spokane.
You've been to Spokane?
Well, you had to if you want to get to
Oh,
Idaho.
yeah, right.
So,
did you go to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho?
Yes, we did.
Isn't that one of the most
beautiful.
beautiful
Yeah.
little pieces of land?
And
in
it's
the
right
United
across
States?
the border from
It is.
Spokane.
So we did, not to get off topic, but we did a trip 3 years ago where we flew to Bismarck, North Dakota, then drove south, stayed in Rapid City, South Dakota, did the Badlands and Mount Rushmore, drove west through Montana, Wyoming, did Yellowstone. Then we stayed in Coeur d'Alene and then ended in Spokane, Washington. And it was just such a cool.
Yeah.
I really love that part in Idaho. Or by have you ever been to Missoula, Montana? So that's just another hour and a half, I think, southeast of Coeur d'Alene. It's like Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, Missoula. Just a really neat little.
Yeah, Montana is gorgeous too. Would love to see more of it. Need to get up to Glacier National Park.
I know I've never been there.
So that's on the Montana bucket list. I have been to Montana. Haven't seen a lot of Montana, but I've seen a little bit of the southern part of Montana.
Yeah. So was your goal to visit all 50 states? Was that just like happenstance and like you kind of just it happened, or was that when were you just like, you know what, I kind of want to do this? Was it when you hit 25, 30?
So I was thinking it's a good question because it's kind of always been in the back of my mind because when I was a kid, my dad worked for the Forest Service, which meant that if there was a national forest in some state, he'd probably throw the kids in the camper for a cheap vacation. And that's what we did. And that's how I saw so many states.
Yeah.
That's how I saw the whole eastern seaboard. That's how, and he had family, as I mentioned, he's from Nebraska. So been in Nebraska. And his hometown is right on kind of that panhandle corner between Colorado and Kansas. So I'm a kid, I'm knocking off Colorado. I'm knocking off Kansas, knocking off Nebraska. We did it when I was a kid. We did a trip through the Badlands. We did that a couple of years ago as an adult too. But
Is it cool
South
seeing
Dakota,
it as a kid and then revisiting it and then seeing it as an adult?
It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat just to see how it's changed, what you remember, what you don't remember. And I think everybody should see Mount Rushmore. And then when you're an adult, you learn that, there's some problematic things about the land of Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
So, but it's still a quintessential part of Americana that I think everybody needs to see. So when I was a kid, I was knocking off all these states. And you go on the Eastern Seaboard, and as you know, because they're so small, you're knocking them off left and right, left and right, left and right. But there's a couple of them that I didn't get to. Didn't get to Delaware, didn't get to Rhode Island, but most of them. So as I enter adulthood, I'm at like 36.
Oh, wow.
37 states. And I'm like, okay, I can do this, but I hadn't been to any of the hard ones.
Yeah.
Hadn't been to the Pacific Northwest, obviously. Hadn't been to a lot of the American Southwest. Hadn't been to Alaska or Hawaii.
Those are tricky ones.
Well, they can be.
I always got pissed off, like, when I'd be talking to people that had been to Hawaii 3-4 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God,
I have a friend of mine who has a timeshare there. I'm like, you have a what? there? But as an adult, the first state that I think I ever went to that I hadn't been to before, which is almost counterintuitive because I was born in the state next to it, was Louisiana.
you had never been there?
There was never a reason to go to Louisiana when I was
You
a
go
kid.
to, like, Baton Rouge or
There
something?
was never a reason
Oh, wow.
to go to Louisiana when I was a
the
kid.
Gulf, gotta go swim in the Gulf of Mexico? Really? You guys never did a trip to...
Not to Louisiana, but we would go to Florida. But so we'd go down through
Oh,
Alabama,
gotcha.
go down to Gulf Shores, and then on the Panhandle of Florida.
I mean, I
like
guess that
Fort
makes
Walton
sense.
Beach and Panama City and all
Why
that.
would you drive south and then
Yeah,
east
there was-
when you can just...
There was just no reason to.
Interesting.
So the first state that I had been to as an adult was, I was fortunate enough, early in my career, the Packers really started to get good. So
Yeah.
Super Bowl 31
Oh!
was my first trip covering that as a 23-year-old kid going, well, this career is going to be fun.
Right.
I get to go to the Super Bowl every couple of years. And that's the first time I had ever been to Louisiana. So that was state number 38. And then you start knocking off a few more. I covered the Masters in 2003 for the first time. And the Masters, Augusta, Georgia. I'd been to Georgia before, but
Yeah.
I'd never been to South Carolina.
Sure.
So go over the border, which is, it's right on the border of South Carolina. I've been to North Carolina, never been to South Carolina. So we went over the border and had dinner in South Carolina. So boom, knocked
I
off
love
that
it.
state. So that's number 40. I had never been to Delaware before. I mentioned Delaware in 2008 when the Brewers were in the playoffs in Philadelphia. And then, you're in your 40s, or the number of states that
Yeah.
you've been in.
Now
is-
it becomes,
is in your
it becomes
40s.
tangible.
And then it's like, well, can I really do this?
Mhm.
And that's
When it gets the hardest.
That's right. Well, the
the closer you get, I feel like the harder it gets.
sure, because it's never the easy states.
Mhm.
So, one state that nobody thinks about is North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
And they know it, though, too, because during the pandemic a couple of years ago, you just needed to get out.
Right.
So we did a road trip. We did a road trip to North Dakota, to Theodore Roosevelt National Park. That's our
nice.
other thing, national parks. And you go into the visitor center at Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and they've got like T-shirts saying, "I finally got to all 50, save the best for last," and things like that with North Dakota on it. So they realize it's a thing. A lot of people,
Yeah.
you can get to South Dakota. South Dakota,
There's a lot in South Dakota.
well, they market themselves really well too, because
Right.
they've got, you got the Badlands, and
Yeah.
you've got Mount Rushmore, as we talked about, Wall Drug, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
The way that they market themselves. But North Dakota, it's kind of hard to get to from South Dakota.
There's Bismarck and Fargo. And,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
Yeah. And I've been to both now.
Yeah.
But because the states are so big out west,
Right.
it's kind of hard to get to. So you have to make a concerted effort to get to North Dakota.
100%.
And they get that. So North Dakota was, as I've written it down, North Dakota, I did take notes actually, is my 46th state.
40. North Dakota was 46.
46.
What was 47?
New Mexico.
Oh, nice. Where in New Mexico?
We went to, so my wife went to UTEP. She played tennis at UTEP,
Where's that?
Texas El Paso,
Okay.
which is right on the border of New Mexico.
Gotcha.
So we, as I mentioned, we're doing national parks now. And New Mexico has 2 national parks that were well within driving distance, Carlsbad Caverns and White Sands.
Do you like White Sands?
White Sands National Park
Yeah.
was beautiful.
I want to go really bad.
It was
It looks
beautiful.
crazy cool.
Where's my phone? I'll show you a picture.
Because I've seen some pictures and it's like just this white sand and then the blue sky.
Oh, it's
it looks like a
unbelievable.
screensaver.
It's unbelievable. So, yeah, we did New Mexico in 2021, and then just the last 3, Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. But, after I did Delaware, I'd never been to Hawaii before.
Yeah.
So in 2015, We did Hawaii.
Oh, nice.
Now we want to go back to Hawaii because we want to see some other things, but we stayed on Oahu.
That's
we were
where we
mostly
stayed,
on
too.
Waikiki, but we also rented a car and drove up to the North Shore, drove
Isn't
up to
the
Turtle Bay,
that northeast shore?
where Bonsai Pipeline
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah. It
Yeah,
was,
we got all up in the ass of Oahu. Beautiful. I think the thing I like about Oahu is
There you go. That's White Sands National Park.
that looks like a screensaver.
Yeah, that's one of my best.
Wow. The national parks in the country too are. I think the one thing, it's always funny. I'm on a couple travel subreddits, and there's people that will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm visiting the United States for a couple weeks, just wondering like how easy is it to see all 50 states?" And like people in the comments just start laughing, and they're like, "You don't even realize how big this country is until you've done something like see all 50 states." Because for Jen and I still feel like we've just scratched the surface of what there is to offer for national parks, for just great little cities. Just there's so many little pockets of this country that are just. I mean, you could spend a lifetime just traveling here and not going anywhere else and be completely satisfied with the culture, the food, the landscape, like all of it.
I think it's the same people who, they go to Australia and they think that they can drive between
Yeah.
Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah,
and it's just
exactly.
like a 3-hour drive.
Right.
Yeah, no. No. Sorry.
So, for you, what has been the easiest part about seeing all 50 states? What's been the hardest part?
The easiest part was that so many of them were knocked off for me when I was a kid, and I didn't realize it or certainly appreciate it when I was younger because, my dad would put us we had a camper, travel trailer, and a van, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, if he had to be, in Vermont 2 days later, he would just throw me and my brother in the back of the van. Mom would navigate, sleep, and she'd pack up the camper the day before, and then we'd be on our way, and we would be in Ohio before dawn, before the time when we woke up, and then a couple of days later, we were in Vermont. I got to see Vermont and see the national forest up there, and then you'd pop over to Maine, and Acadia National Park is over there, and that's on our list for next.
Yep, that's
next
on our
year,
list too.
because Erica, my wife, we have a different path to 50, but she's at 46 right now.
Oh, nice.
So, but she played in so many tennis tournaments when she was younger on the national circuit. That's how she's seen most of the country herself. But she's never been to the Northeast either. So we're going to do Maine next year. She's never done New Hampshire or Vermont. I did those when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And haven't been back as an adult yet.
Yeah. So then you'll get to go back to that.
And then we'll go over to Acadia National Park.
Sure.
And I don't know what number national park that we're at 20 right now.
I don't even know. I'd have to look. God, boy, that's a good question. I don't even know how many we've been at. What's been your favorite national park? I know that's a loaded question.
Oh gosh.
It's such a loaded question.
Oh boy, that is a loaded question because each one has something different.
I mean,
Zion was beautiful.
Oh God, we hiked the Narrows in Zion.
Oh, okay.
And we were in Las Vegas, and I don't know why the hell we did this, but we drove to Zion National
It's
Park.
not that far. It's only a couple hours.
Yeah. Well, we didn't realize there was a time change from Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
So all of a sudden, like we realized right when we got there that like the park was going to close an hour earlier than we thought. And we're
Oops.
like, shit. So we had to like cancel one of our hikes just so we could like spend like more time in the Narrows.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
do you remember? Did you go? I'm assuming you did Overlook Canyon Trail, the
Yes,
one that
we
with
did.
the
Mhm. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, I couldn't get my camera out fast enough for that.
I know. It was
for that little vista.
gorgeous. We did Canyon Overlook Trail, and then my cousin was getting married there, and
Nice.
I did the wedding ceremony, so that was fun. There's the big tree at the lodge at Zion National Park, and I married my cousin Greg and his wife Heather.
Oh man, I
underneath
bet that was
tree.
awesome.
Then we went over to Bryce Canyon, which was cool.
I haven't been to Bryce Canyon.
Bryce Canyon is you're driving through what just kind of looks like a regular type of forest. It doesn't look like there's any change or anything. And then there's a parking lot, and then you go up just the slightest of incline, and then just Mars opens out in front of you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love when that was sort of how it was when I was in Oregon. We stayed in Portland, and then we drove to the coast, and then kind of drove part of the Pacific all the way up to
Sure.
Cannon Beach, where like Haystack Rock and all that stuff is.
Okay.
And it was the first time I'd ever seen the Pacific Ocean. This was in 2012, I think. And I remember coming around this turn, and then all of a sudden there was all the rocks in the ocean. And I mean, you know, the Pacific Northwest, and then the ocean right there. And it was
Sure.
just like sort of how you explained Bryce Canyon. It just opened up, and then there was it felt so prehistoric.
Yeah. Well, you're
how
at
it
the
looked.
you're at the edge of the
Yeah,
continent.
and it was so freaking cool. And I love when you enter parks or just really beautiful like landscapes like that, where it just kind of opens. It's like curtains opening.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, that's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
So what's been the hardest part?
Ooh, getting enough time to go to Alaska for 10 days.
Right.
So that
'Cause you can't just go there for like 2 days.
no, you can't.
You need a.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody has. But we did an Alaskan cruise in 2018, which was beautiful. But we had the option of taking a 3-day land excursion up to Denali.
ooh.
So we're like, well, as long as we're here.
Right.
So we did. And so we got to see a good portion. I mean, Alaska is massive.
Right.
It,
It's like half of the United States.
if you've never been to Alaska, you have no concept of how
Right.
large this state is. Most people who go to Alaska never get beyond the Inside Passage,
Yeah.
which is the far southern eastern part of it.
yeah.
You know, if you've been to Anchorage, you've been to Alaska, but you haven't really seen Alaska.
right,
But
right.
you've been to Alaska,
Right.
no question. But there's so much to see, and just that it was like a 10-hour drive. Just from we disembarked in Seward.
Oh, Seward is such a beautiful little.
It was a crappy day when we were there, so I'm
we
gonna have
did,
to take your word for it. But I know that Kenai Fjords National Park is
Yep,
right next
we
to
did.
it.
We did that.
Oh, did you really?
Yep, it was
Oh,
so cool. I got seasick.
Oh.
I was taking a leak in the bathroom. And I don't know what it was about standing there, but the way that the boat was, because it was like a 9-hour excursion.
Okay.
And the way that the boat was rocking, like I zipped up, walked back out, and I was like, huh. I feel like I'm gonna puke. Never been seasick before, and it lasted like a half an hour. Oh, God, it
that's the worst.
sucked. But yeah, that's.
we didn't get we didn't get to see Kenai Fjords.
But you would have seen part of it for the cruise or something similar.
We
to
saw, we did sail right past Wrangell St. Elias National Park.
Where's that?
It's right on the southern. It's right over the Bay of Alaska.
Oh, okay.
It's
I think I know where it is.
it's between Glacier Bay National Park, if you're familiar with that is, and Seward, where we disembarked. It's right in the bay,
Okay.
right on the southern edge, like south central, if you will,
Gotcha.
the south central part of Alaska. It's our largest national park. Fun fact.
Is it really?
It is.
I thought Denali was.
No,
Really?
It's Wrangell St. Elias.
Did you get to see Denali?
Yes,
Like the tip?
3 days in a row.
See, when we went to, clear skies. I mean, I got a trillion pictures of it, and
Yeah.
like every time I talk to people that have been to Alaska, they're like, "Yeah, it's cloudy, couldn't see it." I'm
I
like,
know.
"Really?
Most people.
You're the only other person I've talked to that was able to see it."
Most people say that.
Isn't that
And-
weird?
Yeah.
Well, then we got lucky.
Yeah. And it was.
I was like, "Yeah, there wasn't a cloud in the sky."
Yeah. Here you go. I took
Yeah,
that picture
boom.
from 80 miles away.
It's shocking how tall it is. Or is it Denali or Mount McKinley? Or what the hell do they call it
It's
now?
Denali. It used to be Mount McKinley.
It's
but the
shocking
indigenous
how tall it
peoples
is
wanted it.
compared to that range that's right in front of it.
I know.
It almost looks like clouds if you look too fast.
Well, that's how the bus driver. So you see those clouds
Yeah.
out in the horizon? Yeah, that's actually Denali.
Those aren't clouds.
Yeah, those aren't clouds. And the whole bus went, oh. So then we stopped and we took that picture that I just showed you.
Oh, that's funny. I think for me, the hardest and easiest part of doing all 50 was the same thing, the logistics.
Yeah, the 9-hour flight to Hawaii that's nothing to sneeze on
Right.
either.
The easiest part to doing it was the logistics because, like, when we did what we call our East Coast 1.0 trip, it was 2 weeks. We flew to New York City, and that was our base for like 5 days. We did New York. We did Philadelphia, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Then we went to New Haven, Connecticut, New London, Connecticut, stayed in Providence, Rhode Island for our second base. And then we did like Providence. And then we drove to Boston for another 5 days, which is our last base. And that's how we did like Vermont, New Hampshire, Portland, Maine. And like there's a lot of ways you can see states logistically that's super easy. Same thing. We did like Louisiana, and then we just drove the Gulf Coast, and we did Biloxi, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama. There's interesting routes that you can take that you can not even just like knock off states quick, but actually spend like real quality time there. But on the flip side, the hardest part was the logistics in figuring out how to all the drive times,
Sure.
and because if you're off by a couple hours on a all-day road trip to Portland, Maine,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a long, dark ride back to wherever it is you're staying.
Yes.
So it was like that's been the hardest part was just figuring out the logistics, but also like the easiest part because you can knock off a lot of states if you're smart and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know.
The last state for my father, also a member of the club, was Rhode Island.
Oh, nice.
And
one of my favorite states.
It took him a long time to get to Rhode Island. He only got there last year.
Wow.
But when we took a trip to Boston, and it was when my wife worked for the USTA, United States Tennis Association, we had a little extra time, so we were like, well, we haven't seen Boston. I had never been to Boston before. I've been to
It's
Massachusetts.
only like an hour and a half or 2 hour drive from Providence, I think.
Yeah, well, we were in New York City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were in New York City.
A little bit farther.
Yeah, we took the train, which was about 5 hours. So, and then we stayed in Boston for a couple of days. But,
nice.
But we rented a car, and the International Tennis Hall of Fame was in Rhode Island. Now,
Nice.
at this point, the quest was on.
Sure.
At this point, it was like, all right, 50's within sight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's within our
All
grasp.
hands on deck.
Yes. At that point, we had been to Alaska. We had been to Hawaii. Rhode Island is right there.
Right.
The International
If you can
Tennis
get to
Hall-
Alaska, you could sure as hell get to Rhode Island.
That's what I'm saying. So we drove down and we toured the International Tennis Hall of Fame in
Nice.
Newport, Rhode Island.
Dude, isn't Newport beautiful?
Newport's gorgeous. Very underrated cute little town.
One of my I was just in Newport this last October or something like
Okay.
that for my second time. Just one of the greatest little
No. Just a cute
just
little
marine
town.
cities. Oh my god.
The seafood is unbelievable
Oh, I
there
had
too.
some lobster rolls there that were.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Love Newport.
Which state surprised you the most?
Utah.
Utah.
Utah. I had no idea. The first time I had ever been to Utah, again, the quest was on when my cousin Greg told me that he was getting married. I'm like, oh, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Hey,
We're going Las Vegas,
Yeah.
Orlando, Florida.
I didn't know he lives in Riverside.
Yeah.
He lives in Riverside, California.
Sure.
So I figured, well, okay, we'll schlep. I love you. We're going to come out.
Yeah.
And if you need somebody to do the ceremony, I've done a few.
Sure.
And after Heather gave her blessing to have schleppy radio boy over here do the ceremony, I was like, so where? I assume it's somewhere in Southern California. He's like, no, we're getting married at Zion. I'm sorry, what?
Excuse me? Zaya what?
Check off another state. I had never been to Utah before, but Southern Utah. Now I've never been to like Salt Lake City,
Yeah, I
or
haven't either.
Park City, or anywhere in the
On the
northern part
list.
but the southern part of Utah looks like Mars.
It does.
And that was the time I was telling you about, when we did Canyon Overlook Trail
Mm-hmm.
and went out to Bryce Canyon. Still haven't done Canyonlands, still haven't done Arches. So that's on the list.
I've never been to the Grand Canyon.
Well, that's in Arizona.
I know. I have a couple really weird
Okay.
ones like that. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay.
So Utah.
Utah. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Right.
The first time we're driving through driving through Utah, I was like, this is the most unbelievable place in the world. And the first time that he had ever visited us in Wisconsin, the national park thing wasn't a thing for me and Erica yet, but we needed a big picture for our living room wall.
Yeah.
We wound up getting a picture of Zion, of a place, the mountain is called the Watchman.
Oh, I know what that is. Yeah.
Okay. And so there's this huge thing. And so when Greg walks into our living room for the first time, now he had been to Zion 1,000 times. He just looks and says, oh, the Watchman. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, that's at Zion. I'm sorry, what? What is a Zion? And then I'll have to scroll down. I
Sure.
keep showing you pictures on my phone, which is great for an audio medium.
Right.
let me
Yeah.
tell
Right.
you. That is not lost on me. But I took a picture of the Watchman, and side by side next to the picture of what's hanging on my living room wall. It's still there. It's like, okay, I get it. I've stood in that spot now.
Oh,
But
that's.
I had no idea. But there's in southern Utah, there's the Hoodoo Trail. There's Page, Arizona, which is right on the border of Utah as well. Just that whole part of the country is just
beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
If you've never been there, listening to this episode, definitely get there.
Yeah.
Mine was me and Jen have been to all 50 states together. Our goal was to do all 50 states together in under 10 years and
That's
by our
cool.
10-year wedding anniversary. So we were supposed to do Hawaii in 2020. That was going to be our 10-year wedding anniversary and our 50th stay together. We had to cancel it because of the pandemic.
Sure.
But that was our goal.
That's a great goal. That's aggressive.
So 10 years together.
That's aggressive.
It was. But for us, we share I'm assuming when she listens to this, she'll agree. For us, the biggest state that surprised us was Arkansas.
Okay.
We love hiking. We like parks, national parks. When we went to Ozark National Forest, and that was a top 3 hike for us. And then that coupled with Hot Springs National Park in Little Rock, Arkansas, which feels like a little mini Memphis. We had completely written Arkansas off. I mean, it was like Kansas for us. I was like, I don't really care. It's just some flat, I don't care. And it was amazing.
You have written.
Cannot wait to go back to Arkansas.
Now I'm anxious to go back because your experience with Arkansas is different from mine.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, mine was just when I moved to Houston in 2012 for a job. That's where we stayed. We stayed in Little Rock overnight.
Oh, I loved Little Rock.
Yeah, but not when you're dragging, 1,000
exactly.
pounds of equipment in a cab.
Exactly.
So we didn't really have time to experience much of Arkansas rather than, sleep for 4 hours and
Right.
get up at the ass crack of dawn and drive down to Houston. So I'm anxious to get back there. Obviously, you mentioned Hot Springs National Park. I've read about Hot Springs National
It's
Park.
really, really cool.
Yeah,
I believe it's the first national park.
Yellowstone was the first national park.
Or is it then? What was hot? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, whatever. It's okay. Maybe it's one of the first.
It
but
might
it's
have
a
been.
really, really cool. You can find some of the hot springs and you can just go up there and they'll let you take the water.
That's what I've heard.
But really cool, just bars and shops, and then you get to tour the old bathhouses. They have a needle tower thingy up there, an observatory.
I know you love your needle towers.
I know, it's cool. So speaking of that, what's one unique thing that you've done or seen or experienced in multiple states?
I would say we've talked about national parks a couple of times.
National parks.
So that's our quest. Now, you and your wife, you and Jen, you've in the last 10 years have been to all 50 states, which is an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is get to all 63 national parks,
that's gonna
which
be
is more my quest than hers. But we also are trying to do that part together because when I was a kid, I've been to Yellowstone. Erica's never been to Yellowstone, so Yellowstone is not on the list of ones that we've done.
Yeah.
That's not in the 20. She's been to Kings Canyon out in California. I've never been. It's not on our list. If
Nice.
we haven't been there together, that doesn't count.
Gotcha.
So right now we're at 20.
Dude, that's awesome.
And
You've
that's
been to
only-
20 together?
Yes, and that's only since
Wow.
2018.
What? Holy smokes!
Yeah, that's only since 2018. That's when our Alaska cruise kind of spurred it on.
Yeah.
Because we're going through Glacier Bay National Park, and it's like this is the most unbelievably cool thing ever.
Right.
And then we went up to Denali National Park. This is the most unbelievably cool thing ever. We sail past Wrangell St. Elias National Park. This is the most unbelievably cool thing ever. My cousin gets married the next year at Zion, and then we go over to Bryce Canyon. These are the most unbelievably cool places ever.
Yeah.
You know what we should do?
Is just go try and hit up all the national parks.
I'm more gung-ho about it than she is because there are a couple that are really hard to get to.
Yeah.
There are some you can't drive to.
Oh yeah. And there's some that are very, very underwhelming.
Yes.
The last two. So we went to Everglades National Park 2 years ago.
Okay.
And boy, I wish I could get that time back.
We did that last December.
If you've ever seen a swamp,
Yeah, it is a swamp.
and an alligator in a swamp, you've been to the Everglades.
Yeah, pretty
we
much.
also did our last two states in the lower 48 was Kansas and Nebraska.
Okay.
And last spring we went to Tallgrass Prairie National Park. If you've ever seen a flat green field,
So that's a national grasslands.
it's a why
a-
did it say park, or did I get that wrong?
There's 63 national parks. Now, I know
Okay.
exactly where because I've been there too.
Yeah.
That is a national grasslands.
Okay.
So like when people think of
Does
Mount
Evergla-
Rushmore,
Sure.
not a national park.
Okay.
It's a national memorial.
Yeah, that I knew.
So there are 400 national park sites.
Gotcha.
But there are only 63
Everglades is a national
It
park,
is,
right?
yes.
Okay, it shouldn't be.
Neither should Indiana Dunes, but here we are.
I actually liked Indiana Dunes.
It's a beach.
Although we went,
It's a beach,
we went
Martin.
There, we went there during the
Sir.
pandemic, so anything was
Yes.
amazing. It is a beach.
Yeah, it's a beach with a forest next to
Right.
it. But Badlands, that's a national park, for
Oh, yeah.
example. Theodore Roosevelt National Park is a national park. Wind Cave National Park, which is out in South Dakota, that's a national park. There
Yeah.
are 63 of those.
Okay.
So we've been to 20 of those. The most recent one was Virgin Islands National Park.
Oh, nice.
That's one that's not in the United States. I mean, it is. It's in a territory, but you can't drive to it.
No.
You can't fly into it. There's no airports.
Do you
There's
want to do territories?
what about?
Do you want to do territories?
Yeah, well, I've done a couple of
So
them.
I got in Hawaii. I got this. Listeners can't see, but I got my 50 tattooed
I got
for
it.
all
I see
50
it.
states.
Yep.
And then I was like, God, what if like Puerto Rico or like DC or something become a state? How do I amend this tattoo?
Just put an X through it and put 51 underneath it and keep going until you're done.
Because I mean, it's likely possible. So would you ever do territories? Because would we have 6 territory, like ones that are like habited?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to count like American Samoa, which is there's a national park in American Samoa.
That's a boy. If you thought Alaska and Hawaii were difficult to get to,
Yes, but we found a way to get there.
right?
On a cruise
Oh,
ship.
you've been to American Samoa?
No, I haven't.
Oh.
But we have found a way to get there.
Sure.
You can fly into Pago Pago, which is the capital city
Okay.
of American Samoa. It's very small.
Yeah.
Or you can take a cruise that starts in Tahiti and disembarks in Sydney, and it stops in Pago Pago.
Okay.
And then you can go through the park, which is right next to the harbor.
Okay. Boy, that sounds like a lot of work.
This is what I do. This is now I'm completely nerding out. Most
Right.
people, when I talk to about this, their eyes just kind of glaze over. So I appreciate the
Oh,
opportunity.
I love it. I love it.
So that's our quest. So we've been to 20 national parks. So we've been to the Everglades. We were there last year. Like
Okay.
if you've seen an alligator, and you've seen a swamp.
Although, did you
you've
do
seen-
a one of the fan boat thingies?
We did not, because the next day we went over to Biscayne National Park.
Okay.
Which is right next door.
See, I should have gone to that.
You should have, because we did snorkeling in there, and it was great.
I should have.
Love the snorkeling, and so now that's another new thing that I want to do. I just want to go snorkeling wherever
Right.
we go. So we went on a cruise a couple of months ago. That's when we were at Virgin Islands National Park, and so we're.
Is that the one that has the underground museum thingy or whatever?
I
there's,
don't
like,
know.
sculptures?
That I don't know about.
Like that you can snorkel and.
I know that the snorkeling is great, and I'm showing you a picture
Oh
of
wow, that
Johnny
looks like
the
a
Sea-
screen. Every one of your pictures looks like a screensaver.
that's Johnny the Sea Turtle,
Why is his name Johnny?
because of St. John Island.
Oh, nice.
Which is where
Did you name him that,
Yeah,
or
I
did
did,
they?
yes.
How do you know it's a boy?
I don't.
But he is. He is now.
I'm guessing, but I named him. I think it's a him. Actually, I don't know. I have a 50-50 shot, right? But that's Johnny the Sea Turtle for St. John Island, which is where Virgin Islands National Park is.
God, no, I want to go.
You should. Of
I
course
know.
you
I know.
do.
I know.
Of course you do.
All right, final question, and it's a big one.
Okay.
We'll try not to get too deep into this, but we're going to compare. I always hate when people ask, "Oh, what's your favorite state?" Because it's impossible. So, and even if people say, "Well, what's your top 3?" Even that's impossible. Top 10 states. How many do you think you and I have? How many do you think you and I share in our top 10 list?
5.
You think 5? I'm gonna write that down. All right, I'm gonna let you.
No,
go.
I'm going to say 6.
6.
Yeah, I amend that. I'm going to say 6.
I think 6.
Yeah.
So go through your list. It doesn't have to be in any particular order. And
Now-
just a quick little why is that state make your top 10 list?
So I've lived in 4 states, and I exclude all of them.
Okay.
So
I'm excluding Wisconsin.
okay.
Although I think Michigan is better than Wisconsin anyway. So don't kill me, listeners from Wisconsin.
I don't think that, but I also haven't been to Isle Royale National Park yet.
Okay.
Which that's up in Lake Superior. It could as easily be in Wisconsin as it is in Michigan.
I know, right?
But
it might as well. That should be
it's
part of.
right.
Can we invade that? Is that like legal?
Can we just
still?
annex
or
it?
is that frowned upon?
I think that's frowned upon.
All right, top 10 list.
Okay, in no
In
particular.
no particular order. I mean, unless you have an order.
I do,
Okay.
but Alaska.
Yes.
I'm sure we share that.
Yes.
Utah.
That's my number 1.
okay. Utah's my number 2.
I don't. Mine aren't in any order, but I have Utah.
Okay. Hawaii.
Yep.
California.
Ooh, no, I don't have California.
Death Valley National Park.
Oh, I was just there too.
Yes. I mean,
so cool.
So that's the largest national park in the lower 48. Wrangell St. Elias is the largest.
Death Valley is?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I've done all the national park. When it
God,
comes
I
to
didn't even
national
know
park
that.
research, I don't know why. Again, I don't get a chance to nerd out on this
Yeah,
stuff
right.
very often.
Death Valley's the biggest one.
In the lower 48.
Okay.
Wrangell St. Elias
It
is the
explain
biggest
why
overall.
it took so freaking long to get from.
Yes. Well, but you've got sand dunes.
Yeah,
you've got
that's true.
You've got Badwater Basin, which is like the
I
salt
can't
flats.
believe when you get to Badwater Basin, there's that little pool of water that's typically
Right.
there. How is that there?
Don't know.
Because we went in September or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it was hot. I was like, it must be just so salty that.
We went in February or March.
Ooh, nice. That's much better weather to.
Yeah.
We got lost on a hike. We did a hike and took a wrong turn.
That'll happen.
And it was not good.
That'll
How about
happen.
that when you come in, that little weird oasis? It's like it's a resort or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Right at-
We stopped there. We wanted to get a drink, but
Oh,
it
it
was
was like-
closed. And I was like, crap. The amount of
So
money.
like the little town that's
Yeah, that's just
Yeah.
like lush with palm trees and grass.
Yeah.
The amount of water they must have to use to grow all that.
How much was the gas at that little gas station there?
God.
Because
I want to say this was like 2 years ago, so
okay, so I hadn't gotten
$5 or something like that. It was a lot. It wasn't cheap.
it hadn't gotten crazy yet, but that's the only gas station within a couple of 100 miles.
Are you serious?
Well, at least 50 miles. I don't know if I'd say a couple 100 miles.
They
But
call it Death Valley for a reason.
yeah, they really do. And when we were there, it was right when things started getting kind of stupid with the gas prices.
Uh-huh.
And so that's how much it was.
$8.75.
$8.75.
Ooh. And the thing about Death Valley is it's a lot of driving.
I know. But somebody was filling up their camper, their motorhome. And it's
Would
like,
that cost $10,000?
You know, what choice do you have?
Oh,
What choice do you have?
my
But
God.
$8.75 at Death Valley.
California. Damn, I should have put that on my list.
But California's beautiful.
Yeah.
Josh. We haven't been to Joshua Tree, but I've seen pictures. You got Pinnacles National Park out there, which we want to go to. Channel Islands,
Yosemite.
How could you forget Yosemite?
I've never been there. That's on the list.
So there's so many beautiful things in California.
Yeah. Okay. So we're up to 3.
Arizona.
God, no.
I don't know if we. I wouldn't know if we had that. on the list.
Utah, and then you're gonna do Arizona too.
Well,
I feel
Arizona's
like you
the Grand
could.
Canyon.
I know, but I feel like you could just do one of those two, and then maybe sneak a different state in there. Arizona. Okay. I'm not judging.
Well, I don't have Arkansas.
Interesting choice.
Colorado.
Oh, that's a good one.
Beautiful mountains.
Have you done the drive to the top of Mount Evans?
I have not.
Oh, that's dope.
I haven't spent as much time in Colorado as we will. We're going to spend more time.
Went
in
to a Brewers
Colorado.
game. That was one of the stadium or whatever you call it, stadiums that we went to. We
Okay.
watched
How many
them.
stadiums have you been to, by the way?
Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Denver, Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, and now I'm having a brain fart.
Okay.
Not a lot.
We did Seattle last year for the first
Was that
time.
cool?
Yeah, we've done.
Mariners?
Yeah, we've seen now. We're not getting back to the Holdens for just 10 seconds.
Yeah.
We haven't done one in 50 states. We've seen a baseball game in 11 states.
Oh, nice. That's more than me. I think
okay.
I might have 7,
Okay.
maybe. Not a lot.
Okay. New Mexico.
Damn.
Love New Mexico.
I do too. Albuquerque and San Antonio, or not San Antonio.
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe.
Yep. Nevada.
Damn.
Very underrated state.
It is, man. So you're gonna do Utah, Nevada, and Arizona.
I'm a Southwest
I know.
guy.
I know what area you like.
I love. Southwest. Come on.
Yeah.
That's not even.
Nevada is awesome. I've been to the Hoover Dam 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
It's one of the most remarkable things, I think.
Just north of Vegas, there's this uninhabited area in Clark County.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, just
beautiful.
The rock formations are
Nevada's
out of this world.
Nevada's a fantastic state. I really want to get to Reno sometime, but that's
Okay.
a tricky one to.
Yeah,
Have you ever been to Reno?
I
or-
have not, but it's a bit of a poke from Vegas.
Me and Jen had seriously considered moving to Vegas at one point. I like it
Really?
that way. And like Henderson, like
Yeah, a friend of mine lives in Henderson.
Yeah, not like downtown. Okay. Damn, we're only at 3.
Washington. Okay, Washington's beautiful.
It is.
It's got 3 national parks.
But I've only been to Spokane. I'm going to be in Seattle in Olympic National Park this fall. So
Okay.
that might make it onto my list once.
It was very foggy when we were there, except for the day that we were actually in the city of Seattle. So
Okay.
we went up to the Space Needle and, we saw Mount Everest, or not Mount Everest, Mount Rainier. Good grief. We saw Mount
You've
Rainier.
traveled to so many places,
I
Doug. You
know.
can't even get your. That is that.
I just
literally
read
is-
about somebody dying this
That's
morning.
literally a thing, though. Like when you talk to people like us that have done all this, like
Yeah.
you have brain farts, and you're like, you've literally been so many places.
I was reading about somebody who died on Everest this morning. That's why it was it was in the brain. Don't hype me up. Just don't.
Just
You're
don't
not
do
gonna,
it.
You're not going to live through. But Mount Rainier,
Okay.
which you can see from Seattle.
Yeah.
And when you're driving south of Seattle, you're just kind of looking at it like, how does anybody get anything done here?
Yeah.
I'd just be staring at this
Right?
the whole time.
Right?
But that's when the fog rolls in and you can't see it.
Yeah.
Because I was standing, then we went to Mount Rainier National Park. I'm standing at the base of Rainier,
Uh-huh.
and there's a ranger in front of me. And I said, so, obviously it's foggy and everything. You can't see. So where's Mount Rainier? So, oh, it's right there. Just turned around and pointed.
Right there.
I'm like, am I going to be able to see it? It's like, yeah, probably not.
No, probably not.
Okay.
Hey, you've seen Denali, so.
I have seen Denali. And I saw Rainier. I just saw it from Seattle.
Okay.
But Olympic National Park, Miramar Falls.
Yeah,
is
we'll be there.
beautiful.
Good to know. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's
I'll probably
beautiful.
pick your brain. Once we get closer
Go
to
up to
that trip.
Hurricane Ridge. The
Yep,
views
that's
are
what we're gonna be
beautiful.
doing.
Yep. So you know all the places.
Yeah. Oh God, I
You've done
can't
the
wait.
research.
No, I'm so excited.
Yep, 100%. So, and then we went over to Olympic National Park, which
Yeah.
is right on the Canadian border,
Yeah.
and some of the views are beautiful. I was disappointed in as many power lines as I saw in a national park.
Boo.
Yeah, I'm like, huh?
That
do you-
sucks.
What are you doing? So, but it was still pretty.
Okay.
It was still pretty. So Washington, and then Wyoming.
Ooh. Okay. 4.
Okay, so 4.
That's less than what I thought. I thought we were gonna have like 7 or 8.
Well, which ones
All right,
are on
so
your
mine
list?
are obviously Alaska.
Sure.
Probably one of the most remarkable places in my young 43-year-old life that I've ever been to. I mean, just actually spectacular state. I don't have to tell you that. Oregon is on my list. That's actually just like a solid number 2. But I'm having a feeling that Washington may take that over as far as
It's beautiful. So we flew into Spokane, as I mentioned. So we went over to Coeur d'Alene, which
Yeah.
we talked about, and then drove across the entire state of Washington.
oh man,
Over to
I bet that
Seattle.
was beautiful.
And some of it's flat.
Is it really?
Yeah, some of it. But then when you get to about halfway through, you can also see Rainier from about 80 miles away at a rest stop.
Oh wow.
And it's like it's right there. But when you drive in, it gets lush, it gets green. There's so many different ecosystems, especially when you go. You'll see this definitely when you go to Olympic.
Yeah.
So many different ecosystems in the state of Washington that just make it so beautiful. And go to the Space Needle, Puget Sound's right there, and it's,
God, I can't wait.
go to the Pike's Place Market. We went to the first ever Starbucks, which is right in Pike
Oh
Place.
yeah, the white girl mecca.
Yeah. Yes. You can see the fish. If you want to be a tourist, you see the fish flying all over Pike Place Market. Closes at 5, which we learned the hard way.
I can't. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
cool
Washington
town.
might take over Oregon, but Oregon's definitely a solid number 2. Multnomah Falls, the Cascades, Columbia River Gorge, Bridge of the Gods, just a beautiful, beautiful state. Rhode Island is a solid number 3 for me.
Really?
I love
Okay.
Newport, and I really like Providence, Rhode Island. It reminds me a lot of if you could take Milwaukee and then fuck the streets up and then plunk it on the East Coast. I really, 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 really like Rhode Island. You just get that New England vibe, but without like the scale of like New York City or even like New Haven or something
Sure.
like that. Idaho, probably a solid number 4.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I love Coeur d'Alene. It's from top to bottom. It's just a beautiful, beautiful state.
Okay.
Michigan,
Not on my list.
Mackinac Island it's just such a cool, unique little place that I just have yet to be anywhere similar to. Pictured Rock National Lakeshore was a top 3 hike for us in the UP. The whole peninsula, like the wine country area on the southern peninsula, Charlevoix, everything along the lake by like New Buffalo, South Haven, Grand Rapids, just a really cool area. It just has a lot to offer.
Okay.
And it's one of those states where like I've always wanted to like rank it really high, but because I spent all my childhood in Michigan, it just felt dirty.
Sure, okay.
But I have
All
to
right.
give it. It has to make my list. Wyoming.
Oh,
I
I
feel
love
like that's a
Wyoming.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
Even like Cheyenne, Wyoming, we've been to, is a really cool, just like little, cowboy town.
Have you been to Devil's Tower?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's cool.
And then obviously Yellowstone is,
Sure, of
in my
course.
opinion, the best national park. But whatever, that could be debatable.
I mean, it's a good debate.
Yeah.
It's a great debate. After we knock off all 63, we'll
Right, right.
have another one of these and start ranking
Right.
national parks.
I got Hawaii. I have to give Hawaii props. I feel like you could get a similar visual and cultural experience flying half the time to somewhere in the Caribbean, to like St. Lucia, or I don't know. It's a long flight.
It is.
But it's beautiful. It's really, really cool.
A lot of history there,
yeah,
too.
there is a lot of history, a lot of culture. At times, it really doesn't feel like you're in the United States, which, I mean, obviously,
Sure.
but definitely Hawaii. Utah,
Yep.
I had to put that on there. I love Zion. It's just I struggled between doing New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. And in the end, I had to pick Utah. It was
See, I have no compunction whatsoever about bunching all of my states.
Well, what
in the
I wanted
same
to
part
do
of the
was,
country.
like-
I don't care if the Northeast isn't represented.
well, what I didn't want to do
I
was
don't
do
give a
like
shit about
Washington,
that.
Idaho, Montana, because
Yeah.
that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Maine, love Portland, Maine.
Okay.
There's just something
Neat little
about
city right on the
There's
coast.
just something about getting up in that upper area up there. I really want to get to like Halifax, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick.
The air is
Prince
really
Edward Island.
crisp up there.
Yeah,
which I
they
love.
also have. They claim the best water in the United States, tap water.
Interesting.
Tested it. I think they're correct.
Really? Okay.
Great lobster there. Great
Oh, yeah,
seafood.
without a doubt.
Just really cool. And then this is a bizarre one, but Florida.
Okay.
St. Augustine.
As much as you love the Everglades.
St. Augustine, Key West, St. Petersburg, Miami, I really, really liked. It offers a lot as far as just like the cities and the culture and
Okay.
the landscapes. I love driving over the overseas highways when we go to Key West, and it's a state that I constantly go back to, so it's got to be a good one for me.
The next time you go to Key West, and I've never been to Key West, but the national park,
Yes, it's like a fort.
Dry Tortugas.
Yeah.
I've
I've been trying to get to that every time I go there.
Dry Tortugas National Park. The snorkeling is
So dope.
It looks I've never been, but it looks so incredible around Fort Jefferson.
I want
So
that is on my list.
That's on the short list. We just have to find time to get down there.
Exactly. Because that's a tough one.
It is, but so much of my schedule is dictated by an event that used to happen in April, but now it happens in early May. So my life for the rest of 2023 is going to have a lot of clarity coming up.
Sure.
That's when the Packers schedule comes out.
Oh boy.
The first thing I look for is when's the bye week?
Yeah, right. so you can have a little
Yeah.
Doug time.
Bye week means bye.
Yep. See ya.
See ya. So, yeah, we've got this year. I think for the bye week, we're eyeing up Tucson. So
Never been there.
We go somewhere different every year. So
I love it.
It's not different, but we 1 year we'll do Los Angeles. Another year we did Las Vegas. Another year we did Nashville. Another year last year we did Miami.
Nice.
So
I loved. Did you like Miami?
I did.
I really
did.
liked it.
We had a little boutique hotel that was built in the 30s, right on
nice.
South Beach. I forgot the name of it. The Albion Hotel.
Nice.
Look at it. You open up the door to the Albion Hotel, and it just smells like the most fresh smell that you've ever had in your entire life. It's a block from the beach, and it's
I
beautiful.
wanna go
Everything
back to
about
Miami.
it's beautiful. Loved it.
Doug, this is a fun little conversation.
fun. I enjoyed it.
We could have done 3 hours on this. I'm sure we'll go get drinks sometime or hang out and
Definitely.
yap more about it. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, if that's still a thing. I think it is.
Yeah.
Just very simply, at Doug Russell. You can also find, let's see, I've done 3 episodes of my new podcast, Tales from 1265. So you can find that on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. The Doug Russell Podcast.
Well, you
is
said
also-
that just like how you end the podcast,
I know,
or wherever you get your podcast.
Or wherever you get your podcasts. Well, I work for iHeartRadio, so I have to, give that a plug. And also the Doug Russell Podcast. And I just completed Camp Confidential, the camp podcast for the Wisconsin Badgers football team at Spring Ball. But that was the 3rd podcast that I was doing in the last month. So it's been a busy. So that's why my schedule's been all screwy.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah. But you can just find me on Twitter at Doug Russell.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on this episode.
This was
dude.
awesome, Martin. Thank you
I
so
hope you had a
much.
lot of fun. I had a
did.
blast. I've been looking forward to this forever.
I had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me, Martin.
Thanks.